Welcome, everyone. Today is September 3rd, 2020. I am Mike.
And I'm Brian.
And this is what got our attention.
So, I know we normally jump into like what we played and everything, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. One of them was, and this is pretty cool. I mean, granted, maybe sometimes I'm a little heavy on the whole hashtag Rona economy.
You're going to like burn that out. You're going to like really just drill that into people's heads.
Trend it. I'm going to trend it.
I mean,
That's what it's called.
We've started already tagging it on Twitter, so it is a thing now.
Right? Right. It needs to trend. But it's legit been changing stuff.
Yeah.
And so much so that I see this article about Burger King, of all places.
We talked about them last week.
And right, but in this case, a little bit more positive. They've actually taken a look at how things have changed with how COVID has changed things, and are projecting kind of into the future how they want to have their physical locations. Not just touchless or things. I mean, yes, that comes into it, but I mean, they are taking a lot of ideas into this, and they've got an article out there. It's a CNBC article. And some of the points is, yeah, they're going to try to do a touchless customer experience, but they've completely redesigned the concept of a fast food restaurant, kind of taken some ideas like from Sonic with, like the drive up, but also just some ideas of how things have changed. And not just COVID, but I mean the idea of like Uber Eats,
right,
and Postmates and getting stuff delivered.
Yep.
And they have a concept of this. It takes 60% less, or 60% less square footage, including the parking lot and everything, of a normal Burger King. So it's substantially less.
So they're like really looking at this. They're not just like, oh, we're going to change our menu. They're like, I'm going to change the parking lot, the whole like facility.
They're going to change the whole concept here. So like it's going to be useful more in urban areas where there's less real estate available, but still be able to service more people through drive-through and drive up and walk up. They're going to have 3 drive-through lanes.
It sounds like they're almost copying Chick-fil-A at this point. I don't know.
One of them's going to be dedicated to delivery food services like Uber Eats.
Oh, wow.
And to save space, the kitchen is directly over one side of the drive-in lanes. And they're going to have like conveyor belts that bring it down to the drive-in lanes and deliver it to the people.
That's really odd.
In their cars. And then the other side of the drive-in lanes, because, the drive-in lanes being, wrapping around the restaurant, the other side of the drive-in lanes above that is going to be the dine-in area. And then they're going to have an outdoor dining area with a walk-up window. And then they're going to have areas, again, like I said, kind of like Sonic, where you drive your car into the spot. It has solar panels above it, so they're also thinking about like using solar energy to like reduce their electrical footprint.
Yeah.
And you drive up, and you have ordered on the online app previous to driving up or right when you drive up, either way. And when you get there, you take the app and you scan the QR code of where you pulled up to, so they know where to bring your food out to. So you have all these different options of how to get your food. And I was fascinated by this, about how they've put in some actual thought in how to change these things.
Well, I mean, these are
Curious
things
to how many other people.
I mean, fast food, we've been doing this, for 50, 60, 70 years now, I think. Like, probably the 50s, early 50s. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that we've been doing the same way for a very long time. And like you said, not just because of Corona, but also because of just the new technology that we have. Everybody has a cell phone. We have the ability to do delivery like that now. So why not? Like that. I mean, it sounds like they're on the right path. I said, obviously Chick-fil-A, I feel like has been on the right path for a long time too. Whether you agree with them or not, I'm not going to get into that. But the Chick-fil-A, mentality of like, delivering, like getting food out. Like, I mean, there's one in here in Atlanta that's like in a really busy location, and they get food in and out, people in and out so quick that I can't even understand how they do it. Like, it's crazy, but they definitely have the right idea as far as like how to get food out and get the service done. Like, it's, that's great.
And that's even before they like completely redesign something like this. And for those that are watching live or on YouTube, I've got a picture up there. And again, you can find this on CNBC. But completely redesign it so that like you save space by making it 2 stories and making the kitchen up above where the delivery to the cars is.
So you're going to drop it down a chute.
And having a... Yeah, you drop it down.
Yeah.
I was expecting pneumatic tubes. Like,
yeah, like, boom. That'd be great.
And whether it's, regardless, whether it's conveyor belts or pneumatic tubes, I mean, I think it's really innovative of like, okay, let's think out, like for Taco Bell, think outside the bun. I think they've actually done that.
Oh my.
I'll be interested to see if other fast food restaurants pick up on this. And this isn't like, oh, this is our concept, blah, blah, blah. And no, literally they have 3 restaurants opening up next year. One of them in the Caribbean, one,
because that's where we need to save
outside
the
the U.S. Okay. And then Miami. They have a U.S. location that is going to open up with one of
the
these.
non-U.S. locations to me sound ridiculous because I mean you're talking about technology like Uber Eats and people who are using like urban areas. Like a lot of these places aren't going to be that way. Like that's crazy.
Well,
Miami, I can see.
Maybe not.
Oh man.
At least it's a good place to test out like that the conveyor belt isn't going to spill your drink on the way down.
Yeah, true that. Well, hey, I just want to say happy Dragon Con. Or happy to all of you, happy virtual Dragon Con as it started obviously today. Mm-hmm. It's hitting me pretty hard. I have a little soft spot in my heart right now for the fact that I'm literally not drinking a Mai Tai at Trader Vic's right now. That hit me about 5 o'clock today, and I was getting off work, and I was just like, oh my god, I want the Mai Tai, and I just can't. But I will say, it is Dragon Con week, so we are going to, or weekend, we're going to definitely try to cover some of the events they have in the virtual world, and I'm definitely excited to check it out. I've actually signed up for a Rocket League tournament. They have a virtual Rocket League tournament this year, which I was surprised on. Usually they haven't done that, so I'm not expecting to win. I'm not expecting to even do very well, but the point is just, getting out there and playing and just being a participant in an event that they're hosting, which is pretty sweet. So I'm actually excited about that.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to you posting when it's going to go up so that we can watch it.
Yeah. I'll definitely post the information on Discord for the streaming times and stuff. So that's one of the things I was like pretty excited about for this weekend. And then obviously we got PAX coming up soon too, which we'll be virtually covering as well. So that's just some interesting things coming up in the future, which is pretty neat. I
think people are going to have to watch our individual Twitter streams for us, either commenting live on some of the stuff or at least like doing catch-up stuff. I know I'm probably for the PAX Online, which is in a couple of weeks, I'll probably do a video of like, oh, here's 5 panels I watched or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I got the whole week off. I'm going to do nothing but watch this stuff and play games.
I hate you.
So, well, I know.
Yeah.
But
it is what it is. I mean, typically, to be fair, you're usually at the convention. So it's not like this is something new.
Yes.
It's just that conveniently now you'll be able to be in your home attire watching these virtual events, whatever that may be. You can keep that to yourself. And then the listeners can just imagine whatever you'd like to imagine there. That's fine.
I might have to dress up in cosplay for one of these.
Oh, I'm definitely dressing up in cosplay this weekend.
I just thought about that.
Why wouldn't I? Drink in hand.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, one of the streams I'll do is Star-Lord.
Oh, that's cool. Sounds cool. I'll have to think about something. I'm definitely not doing that for the Rocket League stream, but we'll have to see what else I can get.
Hey, I want to see you. I want to see your stream, not Rocket League, but I want to see you talking about Dragon Con, and you got post-apocalypse.
Oh my god! I don't even know if you could hear me. Post-apocalypse Link. I don't know if you could hear me. That'd be crazy.
I said Link.
This is totally random. This is something else that I just wanted to just throw at you.
You don't have to wear the mask.
Well, that'd be lame. The mask makes it, right?
No.
The other thing that I wanted to throw at you randomly is so think about this. This caught me the other day, and I totally was caught kind of off guard. But my wife asked me. She goes, "Hey, my wife does some tutoring on the side. Like she has some kids that she takes. She's been like kind of watching since they were kids, and I think they're like 10 and 13 at this point now. Which I think she started at like 6 or 7, like or 6 and whatever the age range it is. And so she's like, "Hey, how do you show that you're on like you're talking on the phone? Like if you were gonna show me,
hold on,
right? And for those people watching, that makes sense. If you're not watching, it's what he's doing is basically making like the cool the thumb and the pinky out, and then bringing it up, or like the cool like Hawaiian like
handset
surfer guy. And he's
like you're picking up a landline handset.
And that was exactly what I did. And I was like, yeah, no duh. And she was like, yeah, but that's not what these kids are doing nowadays. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, what they're doing is they basically they're holding their hand like this to talk, or they're doing this. So obviously you can't hear me or see me, but they're using their hand flat, which is against their face to show
like a cell phone,
or they're holding it like a C shape, like they're holding the sides of the phone. And then actually we talked about it today, and someone said like, well, my daughter only talks on FaceTime, so she like I guess like that would be like like holding a flat
right
hand
in front of your face,
in front of your face, which is it's so ridiculous to me. But I mean, obviously it's because of the technology change that I'm just not used to. And I just thought that was really interesting. That it's like something that small that we wouldn't have thought. Like kids don't even know what that is these days. Like they just don't get it. And I'm not trying to like bash like younger generations or anything like that. It's just it literally is something that's changed in technology, and that's just something that we've been used to that has changed.
Well, I mean, for whatever reason I was looking it up today, and the concept of a car phone, which was kind of predates
like the
actual
bag
cell phone
phone,
a little bit. The concept of the car phone actually started in the 1940s in Chicago.
Oh wow.
And then picked up a lot more in the 60s. But absolutely a luxury item and very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being fascinated when I saw it in the first Lethal Weapon, which is like 1980-ish.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they were expensive because they had to have a wire running from the car all the way back to wherever tower they were connected to, right?
Well, radio.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, that was just something interesting that I thought. It was a weird scenario when she asked me this, and I was like, well, duh, like, why are you asking me this? This is ridiculous. And then she explained it to me, and I was like, oh, wow, this is completely true. It's just different. It's weird.
Yeah. So, well, I hate to say that this is a podcast about video games, because it really isn't. It's video game-esque and things related around it. Still.
Things that got our attention.
Yeah, things that got our attention.
And we're not rebranding. Don't take this as a disclaimer. We're not rebranding. This isn't us changing our appearance. No, we're literally, has always been this way. It's always been just got our attention. Like, that's literally this.
Yeah. So, but 2 video games. What have you been playing this week?
Well, so Game of the Moment, right? So we had Game of the Moment on Tuesday. If you guys check that out, awesome.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Obviously, you were playing with us or playing with me. And the ones you were watching that potentially were a part of that too as well. Thanks for watching. We played State of Decay 2, which if you're not familiar with this, State of Decay 2 is a light survival game based on in the zombie apocalypse. And if you're familiar with, I mentioned last week a game called Dead of Winter. It's a tabletop game. It's very similar to that, where you have a group of people. You control 2 characters to start with, and then you can pick up multiple characters like NPCs along the way. And with those NPCs, if they come back to your camp and you're responsible, then you're responsible. You have to make sure they can eat, they can drink, they have enough gas for generators, and so forth and so on. And that's the kind of game. It's a zombie apocalypse, so you're out trying to scavenge and make sure you can find material that you need, and then you're trying to expand your base and clear out zombies and things like that. But we played that on Tuesday, and that was like really fun. I will have to say, I don't know about you, Phoenix, but I had a really good time playing. It was like and this is a single co-op or a multiplayer co-op game, not like this isn't like a DayZ where you're out there in the world with other people that potentially could just ruin your day. or just take all your stuff and tie you up and leave you in the ditch or something. It's literally just
Red
like
Dead
you and a
Redemption.
friend, or friends or that you want to play with. But it is still very. It kind of scratched my itch actually for DayZ, which I was a huge DayZ fan for a long time, even through the bugs and everything. But it definitely scratched my itch for that.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I'm super happy that I had played through the beginning of the campaign to where I'd gotten a base set up, because it doesn't let you do co-op until a certain step. So
yeah, we found that out through me.
Luckily, you were able to rush through that part and get to the part where you could join me. So we had an established base camp to go out from. You helped me find a vehicle again, and we found two, actually, because the game had stolen my vehicle previously during a save. And it was interesting because we had some missions that we're like, what do we got to do? And mostly that was because you and I were just goofing off and not really paying attention to what the game was telling
I was
us,
just running off and
be
playing.
fair.
I just wanted to explore.
And then, that was a blast. We went off exploring. We actually did some things that were mission based. We killed a lot of zombies, ran over a lot of zombies, had fun doing that. We kind of made our own fun for part of it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the game is got a little bit of base building. It's very structured base building.
It's like
in any way,
picking
shape, or form like a
tiers.
Minecraft.
Yeah, it's picking tiers of what you want. I'm a huge survival
Yeah.
building person, and I like Fallout 4 where you can actually lay down walls, or Arma, or these games where you really can just like base build like per wall. This is not that type of game. This is, like you said, very structured. No. But it's like tiered levels, so you can pick like
it had plots.
You could say like I'm gonna build a room. Well, then this room has options to upgrade to like one of three things, and you pick the one you want, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you only had so many plots per base.
Yep.
In fact, we found another base that we could have claimed, but it was very rigid on the structure of like, oh no, you have to have this many survivors, and you have to have blah, this, that, and the other before you can claim
It's
this
like influence
big
points,
of a base.
I think is what it is.
It had requirements,
Yeah.
literally straight up requirements. So it was very kind of RPG structured, where like you have to do this, 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 and this before you can get this base. So it kind of broke some of that freewheeling co-op that you and I were doing.
Right.
But it also allowed it that you could, say, progress the game yourself in the meantime.
Yep.
And then invite a buddy over to like just have some freewheeling killing zombie style in between.
And that's a point
kind of allowed for both.
That's a point to bring up. The way that the multiplayer works is the person hosting is the one whose base you're at. So the person that's hosting the game is the only person that can adjust the base, like add the different structures and things like that. And you're thinking, well, if you're joining a game, then that sounds kind of boring because everything that you're getting is going towards the owner, right? Well, they've added a little bit to that. So the person who's joining as like the helper, there's a structure that you can like deposit your storage locker, which you can deposit everything that you've collected, and all of those things carry with you along with everything that's on your player to your game. So when you leave the game and you start your own game, all of the items you've picked up are with you. The other thing too is when you're out in the wild and you're looking through buildings, there's there's different color codes for players. So like, his was yellow, mine would be blue. So like certain things in a building were only accessible by me, some things were only accessible by him. So giving us the ability to have different type of loot. So like it's not just like we're sharing the loot. I mean, we have our own instance of loot, but we get a chance to take it first.
It all goes to the host.
Yeah, and then we can obviously drop it on the ground, and if I want him to have it, I can just drop it and he can take it. So that was a pretty cool aspect of this. One thing I will say...
It's hilarious when you're like, right over here, go get this. And I'm like, there's nothing there.
Yeah. And that was just kind of strange to me. The one thing I want to say, and I didn't tell you, but basically I've been playing that since Tuesday. I played it like pretty much all day yesterday after work. Like I played till like past bedtime essentially. And it's a lot of fun.
Fascinating because when you left that, you're like, well, this is not the type of base building I like because, it's not granular enough. And
right.
It's like... But still, it caught you in a way with the rest of it that you kept playing.
Yeah, I definitely played for a good bit yesterday. And I'll probably be playing it for a minute. Like, actually, last night, there's a brewery location and I took that over. So now I have a brewery.
Of course I
did.
You would find
right?
the brewery location.
So I have a brewery now, and we're gonna get that up and running, get the production going. Maybe the zombies will be into some beer or something. I don't know, but that's literally what we've been doing. Did you play anything else?
Wait, is that a survivor or a zombie? Is that a survivor drunk from your brewery, or is that a zombie?
Yeah, literally. I mean, we won't know. I guess we'll have to just shoot him and find out.
Yeah, actually, I played another one, and I mean, we kind of say this to death. I get it, but it is an economical way of doing this. Both of these games are available on Xbox Game Pass, so they just come free, air quotation marks, with our subscription. And so I picked up Wasteland 3, which is a brand new release.
I've heard a lot of good things.
It was early access before this. It officially just released, and because it's a Microsoft first-party game, it released day and date with Xbox Game Pass, and you can just pick it up and play it.
Nice.
I played a little bit of it. I had hands-on at PAX East earlier this year. That was back in March, I believe, like early March.
Yeah.
Up in Boston. And I really liked kind of the feel of it there. It is a strategy turn-based game. One could say almost XCOM-ish, but it's got a little bit different feel than that. And I played it the other day, at least through some of the beginning tutorial levels. I'm still technically in the tutorial. Tutorials last for like 2 hours now on games.
I know,
and we're not even talking about the Final Fantasy games where that's normal.
Yeah, where the whole game is the tutorial.
Or the what was the Disney crossover, Disney Square Enix crossover games?
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts, yeah, Kingdom Hearts with that 3, 4, or 5 hour tutorials. No, I mean, like, it seems like every game has a multi-hour tutorial now. But I was kind of playing the tutorial, and they let you really take control early on and get you used to like special actions and move actions, and like firing your weapons and targeting people, and not just targeting people, but with some of your special actions like targeting body parts and taking damage and healing. And it really had a nice flow to it. I really enjoyed it. Definitely going to play some more of that. It has co-op, so I'm interested in playing that with you, Mike.
Yeah, we might be able to do that.
So that'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll be very interesting.
I'll have to check my schedule, see if...
The graphics are pretty nice. I like, everything was very smooth. They had some pretty good voice acting. And some kind of like just bad guys that you just were like, oh yeah, you need to die. I need to take you out.
It's like some of the psychos, like the midget psychos in like Borderlands. You're just like, I have to shoot you in the face. Like, you're making me want to shoot you in the face. And they're usually screaming at you, like, shoot me in the face.
Some of it's accidentally topical too, of like, just like this schwarmy kind of elitist, quasi-racist, like, and you're just like, I just want to, It's cathartic in a way.
Yeah.
But no, I really am enjoying my time with it. Gonna play some more of it, get past the tutorial, get you in a co-op, see what we can do. Okay. Great flame effects. I think at one point I was on fire, and I like kind of flashed back to when we were playing the deserted island game.
The forest?
Yeah.
Oh, that fire. Oh, right.
Video of that one again.
Yeah, for sure. Too bad I wasn't there. Maybe next time. We'll try to get that to work out.
But that's all I've been playing this week, is those two.
Well, cool. I don't think I've played anything else. I think I tried Microsoft Flight Simulator. I tried it. I finally waited the 80 gigs to download it, or 160 gigs, or whatever outrageous it was. I flew around for maybe 10 minutes, and then I realized I wasn't a pilot, and this game wasn't very interesting to me, and I uninstalled it to make room for everything else. So I tried it. It was cool. I got to see Atlanta from like the sky, flying, and I uninstalled it. So, with that being said, I guess we'll get into the news.
Sure. One of the things news-wise that I wanted to bring up right away was, again, we talk about Microsoft, Xbox Game Pass, bringing stuff to the PC and the console at the same time, and their whole like message of like, we don't care where you play the games as long as you get in our infrastructure and play the games with us.
Right.
So it was interesting to see, and this has happened before already. Sony has released previous games to the PC that were PlayStation exclusives.
Later.
Really, Horizon.
I'll say later,
Horizon Zero
way
Dawn.
later.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the quotes. Horizon Zero Dawn was one of them. Death Stranding was another one. And everybody was like, oh, that'd be great. That'd be like, Sony should do this. Sony should like wake up and see this other market like Microsoft did.
Right.
That we even said it last episode that even me who loves his Xbox, I'm telling you as the viewer that if you have a PC already, your best bang for the buck is to get Xbox Game Pass and a PlayStation 5 for the Sony exclusives.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Especially if you like God of War and Horizon.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a... Like I said, we're not sponsored by anybody, and we always talk about Xbox Game Pass, and it's not because we're like Microsoft fanboys and we're wanting to like, just blast this out there.
Because it's cheaper.
But it's literally cheaper. Like, we have a subscription to a thing that we can actually play all of these new games, and they actually put out new games all the time. And a bunch of old games, too. There's a whole library out there. I'm not going to go into that, but there is just a lot of games for the buck. Like, the bang for the buck. Like, you get so much games. So many games.
Yeah. And for as much games as we get, there's only going to be a very, very minuscule, small amount of them that are only available on the console.
Yeah.
Which means logically, most, if not all of these, you can play on the PC. Which means if you're going to get a console and you're looking for like, what games am I going to be able, like, why would I get the console? What's my drive here?
Right.
Well, if you already have a PC, well, then your drive is, okay, well, I would get the console so that I can play games on it that aren't available on my PC.
Yep.
And at that point, that sells you a PlayStation 5, which is going to be a fantastic console. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I think they're both going to be fantastic consoles. I think at this
both,
point, it's...
Yes.
At this point, we're kind of in the same realm with, like, the computer processors. It's...
Well, they're the same.
Yeah, like Ryzen, AMD versus Intel, they're pretty much on point. I mean, there's slight differences, slight performances you may get better out of another thing depending on what you're doing. But just like Xbox and PlayStation, there's literally like... They're at the same peak at this point, just what content.
And I'll come back to that with a different angle here in a moment.
That's super funny.
So the cool thing here is that Sony said, and this is a PCGamer.com article, and they're quoting Sony, I'm quoting them. They said, we will explore expanding our first-party titles to the PC platform in order to promote further growth in our profitability. And this is, Sony quote. Further, they said, competition from online PC games and players from other industries is expected to continue and intensify. Well, duh. That's been going on for years.
Exactly.
And it's great that they thought of this because I think they looked at what Horizon Zero Dawn did on the PC and what Death Stranding did on the PC, and they're like, oh, we're losing money by not offering this stuff over on the PC. And you said earlier, much later, and that's exactly because per Sony's previous statements, that's likely to happen more with delayed releases on PC of PlayStation console exclusives. So if you're willing to wait long enough, perhaps certain Sony PlayStation exclusive titles are going to come to the PC as well.
Yep. We've seen a few at least.
Where Microsoft has said, hey, if we're going to release it on PC and we're going to release it on Xbox, we're going to release both at the same time. And you were talking about how similar, you mentioned Ryzen and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the big points here is these consoles, they're not like custom built IC chips, like back in the days of the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo consoles. They're not even like PlayStation 3 with like the cell processor, which was supposed to take over the world and was so difficult to program for that, you know, the Xbox 360 kind of, you know, ran over it in some ways. But both of these consoles are built on PC technology. This is AMD processors, AMD Ryzen processors. They're using AMD kind of the Navi 1.5. It's a little bit more than what's available on PCs now, but it's not quite the Navi 2 GPUs that are coming out soon-ish because they got ray tracing in them, among other things. They're built on all these things that I'm like, well, yeah, why don't you release this stuff on PC? That makes sense. And I will be super frustrated because like one of the best titles that Sony has been able to showcase really is Ratchet and Clank Rift in Time.
Right.
Or Rift Apart. Sorry, Rift Apart.
I think you mentioned that before.
Which is a great title, Rift Apart. And it was just so fascinating because not only do you have these portals across the level that you could like kind of lasso and go right across the level, kind of teleport the level. I mean, sure, that's games could get away with trickery like that, but they were literally going from completely different landscapes to completely different landscapes and back. And they were kind of controlled in how they did it, but it was still something that today's consoles just can't do.
Yeah.
They can't load the assets that fast. And I'm going to be super frustrated if Sony says, well, yeah, obviously we can't bring that title to PC because there's no way a PC could do that. To which I'm going to immediately say BS.
Well,
because you're built on PC technology now.
Well, here's the thing. To me, it's always been a funny when people talked about consoles versus PC. I always laugh because all of the games are built on PC. They're all built on PC. Yes, they're like you said, like they're built for different different processors. Like they use the different engines for the things that they have to use. But ultimately, the game is built on a PC. It can be worked on a PC. Like especially when they give like these companies who come out and they'll do like those random ports. Like it's basically the Xbox game ported to to Windows. It's like why don't you just give me the game, like the actual game that it's meant to be? Like that just yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I get it. That when you're building for a console, you're building for a known hardware setup.
Yeah, for sure.
Which allows you to optimize more.
Yep.
It allows you to catch more bugs. It allows you to have a more consistent look and feel to the game throughout the entire thing. And just a quality product. When you take it to PC, you got, are they using Nvidia or are they using AMD for the GPU? Are they using Intel or are they using AMD for the processor?
Exactly.
What other thing?
What OS are they using? What version of OS? What update are they on? Yeah.
My own experiences on my desktop, I cannot run No Man's Sky. It crashes.
It's really unfortunate because it's a great game. I really enjoyed it since of all the backlog of hype and bad things that have happened. It's really fun. I enjoyed that one.
But my point is on my laptop I can run it fine.
Yeah.
And so I get that where they're coming from of like, you know, that consistency of standards of quality with running it on a console, and that makes sense. And I also get what you're saying that they build it on a PC. But if they sit there and say that this can't be done because the technology is on PC, I'm going to call BS. Because here's the thing: is one of the things that they're touting is, hey, we've got, you know, this super fast SSD. It's 825 gigs, I think is what it is, and it runs at 500 gig per second, just snappy fast. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. I built my wife's PC, Snow White. It's a white PC, so it's Snow White, and I put in it a Sabrent rocket because it uses PCIe 4, which is available on the AMD structure, which is exactly how Sony's doing it in their console, which is exactly how Xbox is doing it in their console. And hey, guess what? I put in a 1 terabyte Sabrent rocket, which transfers at 5 gigabit per second, the same speed that Sony's doing it.
Yeah.
It can do the same thing. And it's a $200 SSD, NVMe SSD, that just slots right in on the motherboard. Very similar to how Sony is doing their NVMe SSD, which they're going to have a list of acceptable ones that they can put in place. And I get the list has to be acceptable because not all of them transfer at that speed.
Is this the flat little board you're talking about that like kind of screw right into the motherboard? Yeah, those are pretty neat.
Oh yeah, it's like a stick of gum.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
except for a little bit
I
bigger.
was building a friend's PC and I saw one of those and I was like, dude, I think you bought the wrong thing. And he's like, no, that said it works. Like he uses PC Part Picker, and PCPartPicker.com is a website you can like build your PC on if you're not familiar. But it's But yeah, so I was like building, and I was like, it's like literally a stick of gum. It's really thin, and it just like usually if you're used to hard drives, even some of the SSDs you have, like they're still fairly big, but these are like so thin, and they literally screw right into the like that's a normal one, and then they literally screw.
This is unopened.
Yeah, they literally screw into the board, which is very strange, but it snaps in and screws, and it's an odd thing.
Yeah, it's almost like putting in memory, but on a different edge, on the short edge instead of the long edge.
Yeah.
And there's different ones. If you get the ones for PCI 3, they kind of cap out at about 500 to 700 megabytes per second, or megabits per second, actually. Whereas the PCIe 4 go right up to 5 gig per second.
Yeah.
And on top of that, while I was putting together the notes for this story, Sabrent releases, just like I think a day or two ago, said, hey, guess what? We've got a new Sabrent Rocket 4 coming out that downloads at 7 gig per second, even faster than what the Sony PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X is going to do it. So don't tell me you can't run these games on PC, because you can't. And we'll talk about this in a later story, but there's a second part of this, which is it's not just the hardware speed, it's the special decoding of the assets directly into the GPU.
Yeah. I think the other thing to mention on just to kind of wrap it up, but like you said, like, don't tell me that, but a lot of people, unless they're informed, and this goes for anything, I don't want to get on a soapbox or anything, we've talked about that before, but it's, doing your own research, looking into the things that people tell you. If they literally say that can't be done, well, that's BS. Like, you can look it up and you can find out that it can be done. But if you don't know that and you just take face value of, the CEO saying, hey, this can't be done, then that's all you're going to know, and you're going to just expect that that's the only way to do it. So I've got a lot of friends now that I feel like are coming to PC that have been console gamers for years, and now they're like, oh, this isn't that bad. Like, building a PC isn't that bad. Actually I had a friend today who was telling me about it, and I told him, he's like, how do I build building a PC? How hard is it? And I said, he's like, on a scale 1 to 10. And I said, well, it's not really about that. It's more about how willing are you to build the PC from 1 to 10? And he says, well, 8, unless and I was like, well, ultimately it's time versus money. At this point, you can buy a PC from a good company and get good parts, and you're going to pay a little bit more. But if you want to save a little bit of money, but spend some time, then you can build it. And even on that, it's really not that hard. Like, it's,
Well, and that's also a great point is, I talk about the 1 terabyte Sabrent that is just as fast as the Sony and the Xbox ones in Snow White, and it was $200. And I'm not saying that for oh my God, it's so cheap. I mean, that's an expensive part. And I understand why Sony didn't go with a 1 terabyte, because when you're doing the margins that you're doing with consoles, every couple of dollars saved is a lot.
Every couple of cents saved.
So I get why they didn't go with the 1 terabyte. And then they give you the option to put your own in later. That's brilliant. And as far as PC building versus consoles, I'm not here to say you need to go PC or even to consoles. It's an individual decision. Do you want something that you can just plunk down and hook up to your PC or hook up to your TV and have your controller and have, not worry about building anything or installing anything. It's just there and it works and it has a consistent level of quality, not always great quality, but a consistent level for the most part, then a console's great. If you want to be able to like squeeze a little bit extra performance out of it, maybe even spend a little bit more, and then have the flexibility to do even more things like streaming, things like that, well then go PC. It all depends on what you want to do and what you're looking for and how much time you want to put how much time you want to put into it.
Yeah, I mean, the console thing has always really been it's always been associated with living rooms, dens, couches, really. So it's, coach co-op or a co-op couch co-op. I can't even talk. Having like the ability to be able to sit next to somebody and say, "Here's a controller, like play with me." And that's I'm not saying you can't do this on PC, because you totally can. But it's a lot more accessible when it comes to a console, because literally I could pick it up and just bring it with me, and it's not a hassle like with a PC. I have to I'm very careful carrying my tower. If I tear my tower, it's like I'm going to be there for a LAN party or something. We're going to be there for a while. I'm not going to just pick this up and throw it in my bag so we can go. Which at this point, I guess it'd be scary to do that too. Either way, PC, console, whatever you want to do, just keep gaming. That's the bottom line. So last week we actually talked about like the whole Apple Wars and the whole Epic versus Steam and all those different things. And so Steam, which is owned by Valve, the Valve company, who made Half-Life and things like that, they've always been the big fish essentially in the online PC gaming, or just in downloading games. Period. Like they're like the platform, their store. You buy things from them. And on a PC, that's literally like what we've talked about before, how they were kind of like, taking 40% of every cut from developers and things. And then that's where Epic kind of stepped in and was wanting to do something different. And, we've seen that, and we get it. But the other side of the story for Valve, which a lot of people don't realize, is that they're actually making billions of dollars, not even from the games they sell. And this is actually an article from, it's called medium.com. And it's basically, what it talks about is that, for example, what Steam actually makes a lot of their billions of money on is from the marketplace that they have, their virtual marketplace that they host online. Yeah. So they have, and this has been a lot of flack before about loot boxes, and we haven't really covered that. It hasn't really come up in the news lately. But loot boxes being a form of gambling that potentially can get children into gambling early, and there's actually legislation that's being passed. Even in the UK, they've got different things that are going on about laws being passed to try to limit the options of the gaming with the loot boxes and such. But for one of those games, it was actually in the mix a lot, and the spotlight for this was Command & Conquer. Oh my God, what's going on? Counter-Strike Go. So Counter-Strike Go, if you're familiar with the Counter-Strike series, it's a first-person shooter where it's kind of like if you're familiar with Modern Warfare, it's two teams, like a good team versus a bad team, and whatever team you're on doesn't matter. But there's different points you can play. Like
terrorists have won.
Yeah. The bomb has been planted. So you have bombs you have to plant, whatever. It's just a shoot 'em up. You shoot each other, and whoever's better is the better person, right? So with that game, that's on the top level. That's the game. You're really just two teams versus each other. The best team wins. And on the other level of where Steam gets involved in this is they have a marketplace for things like loot boxes and things like skins. If you're not familiar with a skin, what a skin is basically hats on a weapon that you may have, whether it's a knife, a gun, a sniper rifle, whatever it may be. The skin is the actual painting or the design of the actual gun. And with that system, you can actually have a loot box that you can open up, and you can get loot boxes from the game by just playing. And within the game, you get a loot box randomly, all part of RNG, the random number generator kind of thing. And it picks out the loot crate that you get, and you open it up, and you get a skin. The skin is, let's say it's camouflage, like green camouflage. Well, the way that works is that those random loot boxes potentially could be something worth, they're all worth money. There's worth of value because everybody has something they want, right? So let's say I don't really care for this green camouflage because it's okay. But let's say I get one that's like a gold-plated outfit for my AK-47 or something. Well, the gold-plated, people want that. people like Brian may say, you know what, gold-plated sounds really cool. I want to pay money for that. So they have a marketplace in place where they can sell and trade all of these different virtual skins that they get.
And Valve takes a cut from it, from their own digital item they created.
Yes.
One time.
So another way that people can get these items is by going to the marketplace and paying for keys to unlock these loot boxes. And then the key value is typically it's like $1.99 or 99 cents for a key or something like that. And all that does is give you the ability to open the loot box that you do get.
Which may or may not have that particular article in it.
Exactly. It may give you a range of items that potentially could be inside. It may not. There's a lot of games that do different things. And in this case, Counter-Strike, there'll be a random item that pops out. And it may have, like we said, there's a level of rarity that can come from that, like based on how rare it actually is in the market. Or it could just be like popularity, like what people really want to, what they really want and how much they're willing to spend for it. So go ahead.
No, this is, and it's, well, finish your sentence.
Well, I was going to say, so how Valve is actually making their money, like billions of dollars, besides just selling games, is the fact that as an item is up for sale up in the marketplace, they do trading. People can literally bid like an auction to spend money on a certain item, and the winner will obviously get that item that they've bid on, whether it's $10, $5, $20, $100, hundreds of dollars. And so Valve says, hey, great, well, we're going to take 20% of that because obviously it's our game, it's our platform, and we're giving you the ability to do that. So we're going to deposit all the money in your account, no problem. We're just going to take 20%. So you start adding every single microtransaction they have via their own virtual website, virtual item that you physically can't tangibly touch. And they are doing this and making billions of dollars.
And this is including two things. One, people that are doing this as investments, so they trade for the item to resell it later.
Yes.
So Valve gets a cut twice. On top of that, there's the whole Dota International, which is their yearly competition for Dota, Defense of the Ancients, where you buy into their codex, I believe it is, and you can buy into levels similar to a season pass. You can play the game to get levels in it, but it is a huge grind. It is super slow. It's much, much faster to buy into it. And people get like custom skins for their, hats for their people, skins for their people, and this is all cosmetics to do within Dota. So legitimately, I've heard of people getting these cosmetics for their characters and they have not played Dota in years, but they're still getting the cosmetics.
Yep.
It is just, and it is so much money that the Dota International, which is a competition and people play, and the winners get like a couple of $1 million to split between the teams, sometimes like $4 million to split between, and the second place gets X amount, blah, blah, blah. And all the prize money comes from the people buying into the cosmetics. And on top of that, Valve is getting their cut. And they don't even care about the $4 million they're throwing at the top team. They're like, that's chump change compared to what we sold and what we got here. And, oh my God, cosmetics is an amazing amount of money for these. We said it in an earlier episode. The price of games has not changed since the beginning of the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era.
Right.
Where it changed essentially from $50 to $60.
Yep.
And it's been $60 since then. And on the one side, $60 for the last, 15 years or so, 2 generations of consoles, is amazing that since games cost so much more to make now, it's amazing that it's still only $60. Of course, they're going to raise it to $70. But on the other side, these game companies have found a new stream of revenue besides just selling you the game.
Yep.
So there's no reason for them to increase the price.
We also mentioned that too with the sales, right? So Modern Warfare actually announced recently that their shares are up through the roof because of the sales that they've done in the microtransaction world. The other thing too, so like I said, this is just, we're taking Counter-Strike here as the person that we're wanting to talk about. But there's other games. Like I literally have a friend who plays Rocket League, and I can't even say that he plays Rocket League as much as he said he spends. We call him the Rocket League day trader, because what he does, he sits online all day, he plays in between, and he'll buy and collect items that he can find by rarity and by choice and by money or whatever. He'll meet with people, he'll trade, and then he'll keep constantly trading and trading and trading. And I can't tell you how much money he's made, but I just know that he's done this enough that this has almost become his like form of income. Like, I am no joke. Like, this is literally what he's doing. And like I said, I haven't really talked about the loot crates and the gambling aspect of this, but Rocket League's actually gotten some flack from this. Because initially it was like you get a loot box and it could be randomly anything inside, and you have to pay $2 for a key. You open it up, you have no idea what it is. Could be something worth nothing. It could be something that was worth like, I mean, literally, I think it was like $10,000 for like an item because it was so rare from like the alpha state of like the game. And so like they had to change that to, because the thing is about kids and gambling. We can't have kids gambling. That is ridiculous. But we have companies that are figuring out ways to get around this. So even with Rocket League now, they've changed the marketplace. Now they tell you exactly, they have things called blueprints, and the blueprints you can pay for, but it tells you exactly what you're getting. So they take out the randomness, but you're still paying for a cosmetic, ultimately. I mean, and we're talking about Fortnite, and I think we're talking about everything. Every game is doing this. This is not new. Maybe new for parents, maybe new for people who aren't into gaming, but this is something that's been happening for years. Years.
Well, not just years. It's just crazy how it's. So I think it was it EA? Somebody went in front of the European Union, to talk about this.
Yeah, I think it was EA because of Star Wars.
And they were like, "Oh, it's not loot boxes, it's surprise mechanics."
Yeah.
And they're even like trying to reword this stuff to get around this whole concept of like, oh, loot boxes are bad. Well, yeah, of course they're bad. That's the whole point. But they're like, no, it's surprise mechanics, so that's why it's okay. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about that in a separate episode. By the way, this is episode 12, so that's pretty crazy. Like, we're kind of stoked about that. But maybe in a later episode we'll cover the whole like loot boxes. Maybe we'll have a special edition. We'll just kind of talk about certain topics in the future. I don't know. But it's that's something that it's definitely. I saw an article. I thought it was really interesting, and it's something that I kind of knew about, but it's something that a lot of people don't realize. Like we said before, like we knew that, you know, they're taking money from the developers, from the games they're releasing, which is fine. It's their platform. They can adjust for that. But, you know, the other aspect of this where they're actually making, you know, this money, that's kind of wild. So,
yeah. Well, what I want to talk about is an annual tradition, which is that game companies traditionally, at least previous to the last couple of years, didn't do too many releases during the summer, because in traditional years before this, everybody was going outside, they were doing outside activities, they weren't playing a lot of video games on the inside. So there was always this one thing that you looked forward to. Well, maybe two things that you looked forward to. And that was the release of Madden and maybe even the release of Call of Duty.
I was going to say Call of Duty.
That signified that games were back, baby.
Yeah.
That it was fall and all the releases were going to come out, and like, hell yeah, games are back.
By the way, disclaimer, when we do the news, I don't know what I know the topic of the article that he's going to talk about. I don't actually know what he's going to talk about. And the same goes for me. So I'll give him like a heading, like the title of what I'm going to talk about. And the rest is like oblivious to him. So when he's like, I'm actually going to talk about that later. Like, I didn't know he was going to talk about this. It's just something that we Like, we kind of do this on purpose to see what the other person's going to be surprised on, and it works out pretty well. But this is one of them. So I thought Call of Duty, I thought that was going to be the one, and there it is.
So if you're going to talk inside baseball here for the listeners and viewers, it's because we know that we're not going to be like the cutting edge news show that's going to bring you the latest. Like, we're not going out there and finding we're telling you a lot of our sources here. It's the discussion and the opinions that you're coming for. So
hopefully, I mean, I don't know if you wouldn't come here for my opinion,
hopefully.
But anyway, continue.
Well, I mean, his beautiful face too. So.
Oh right, yeah, I did shave. I had to get rid of the Rona beard for a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, Madden's back, and
baby. EA
no,
Sports.
well, okay, Madden's back. It's in the game. That's going to come up again here in a second too.
Oh, great.
Let's take the Wayback Machine, because Madden is synonymous with football on consoles and slightly on PCs too, but consoles really. Yeah. Synonymous with football. And why is that? Well, I mean, there used to be back in the day multiple football games. Yep. And it finally came down that the other football games,
NFL 95, shout out to my brother,
kept dropping out and dropping out and dropping out until the only football games that were left were Madden and the NFL series.
Yeah.
And it finally came down to Madden 05 and NFL 2K5, which actually had picked up ESPN as well. So the last couple of years of NFL were ESPN NFL, like 2K block, 2K5 in this case. And year after year, NFL 2K was bringing a little bit more innovation than Madden was.
Right.
So much so that I am looking at a GameSpot article from August 16th, 2004.
Wayback Machine for real.
About Madden NFL 2005 versus ESPN NFL 2K5. And just perusing through here, and you can go out and you can find this GameSpot article and look at the whole thing. It's got screenshots and everything. It's just amazing, actually.
Oh, God.
And they just, step by step, they're like, okay, gameplay, offense, which one's better? Well, they chose ESPN NFL 2K5. Defense, they said, oh, well, Madden NFL 2005 gave an amazing amount of options on defense, so it was really cool. Special teams went to NFL 2K5. And they keep going down, AI, everybody was the winner there. And they keep going down. Finally, they get down to their final analysis, because this was a special year, because Madden kept, even though it wasn't innovating quite as fast, it kept getting more and more of the market share. And they said, hey, we think you should buy both. They kind of cheated. Yeah. Kept it easy there. They said, we can, but then they said, if your sole interest is in having the best franchise mode and you don't particularly care about gameplay or graphics, let's say that again. You're getting a game and you don't particularly care about gameplay or graphics. You're just focusing on the franchise mode. Or any of that other craziness, then Madden may be the way to go. And that's the quote from this GameSpot.
Makes sense.
They said, otherwise, if you're only going to buy one game, they really said, get the ESPN NFL 2K5. And that was always the thing. It went deeper than that because Madden was pushing them out so much. Sega, who produced the NFL 2K5 series, the 2K series, they not only innovated more, but they decided to really drop the hammer. They priced their game for $20, $19.99.
Wow. For
the Wikipedia article on the NFL 2K series, in what Grantland later called one of the greatest and most insidious guerrilla warfare moves in the history of video game competition, Sega released the ESPN NFL 2K5 in July 2004 for $19.99, giving the game significant market share versus the $49.95 Madden NFL. One EA developer recalled that Sega's aggressive pricing scared the hell out of us. EA later reduced the Madden's NFL price to $29.95. In December 2004, this scared EA so much that in December 2004, however, EA signed an exclusive agreement with the NFL for undisclosed amount of money, making Madden NFL the only series allowed to use NFL team and player names. And that's what people came to the football games for.
Right.
They didn't want, I guess Washington's a bad example because they actually are the Washington football team now. But I mean, they didn't come for like generic team names and generic player names. They came because they wanted to play their team or a state's team and those players. That's what they wanted. And because EA locked in that simulation football license, they became the only game in town.
Yeah, the NCAA games, the college versions, that's always been a thing in those games because of college, people aren't able to make money off of video games because they're sponsored and they're a part of the college. So when you play those games, and this just happened recently, they just were able to do this. Like I think last year maybe. Half. Yeah. They before it was like you're player number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, next person's 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's it. But you knew they designed the characters to look like the players and they had the stats like the players, but they couldn't say, this was Todd Gurley on Georgia football. This was like just player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which now they've passed it, just like NFL, like in Madden, like you're saying, like to be able to have actual characters, like actual team members, like on their shirts and, be that person.
Right. And so now we fast forward to today. And Madden 21 comes out. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not all bad news. In fact, one of the articles, I believe from Polygon, was legit titled as Madden NFL 21 is an old friend in a time of social distancing. But even they said at the end of their article, Madden NFL 21 then is a lot like a best friend in the time of social distancing, someone that I desperately want to see and spend time with, except doing so is also recalls how much we've actually lost over the past 5 months. Of all the video games that could possibly embody or allegorize the turmoil of present-day America, it's somewhat startling to find that Madden NFL 21 is the top of my list. So going from that, we go to sportingnews.com, who mentions that players are increasingly fed up with Madden 21. And they mention their Metacritic score, which I'm actually going to dig into in a second. But they say EA has exclusive rights to the NFL simulation games, meaning that it has no console competition. Yep. It has faced accusations of becoming lazy because of its stranglehold on the market. And this is not something that I've heard just this year. I've been hearing this for years because they've had this since 15 years, 2004 really.
Well, that's always the joke.
15, 16 years.
It's always the joke is like, here's a new Madden game, here's a new Call of Duty. Like, it's like they just put one out at year after year after year. Like, it's just...
And and Madden, because they have no... Call of Duty at least has competition.
Yeah.
And they try to innovate. And sometimes they innovate in a way that the fans don't like. They didn't like the wall running. And because they didn't do it right, Titanfall 2 did the wall running right.
Right.
That's fast, like snappy. Come on. But Madden 21 just hasn't innovated as much. And they do innovate a little bit. It's not like they're sitting on the laurels the whole time. And believe me, the developers that work on this, they're trying to make a quality product. And sometimes they're locked into what the higher ups say they have to do.
Yeah.
So Twitter recently, Madden 21 fans got hashtag NFL drop EA trending in the US just recently. This is again on sportingnews.com. And they continue to talk about this. They show this amazing footage. This is a Twitter footage of the game that is playing, and they're just running. They're not even running downfield. They're all just kind of circling around each other, and there's no tackles happening, and the ball's floating around, and there's no one diving for it, and like it's terrible looking.
It looks like elementary school, like playing football on the recess field.
Right. That's a great way to say it. Perfectly way to say it. You got a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, running around the ball, and it just keeps going and going for like a single play, not going downfield, going back and forth all around in circles for like 45 seconds. And now the ball's like in the infield and they're kicking around. And then all of a sudden there's a victory dance and no one knows what the hell went on.
That's crazy.
Insane looking.
That is crazy.
And so if we go to Metacritic, now, okay, Metacritic isn't the end all be all. There's a way to game the system, just like Steam when you can review bomb in Steam.
Yep.
Metacritic has a Metascore of 63 right now. Now that's them looking at the reviewers, what they think, and they don't always rate all reviewers. They don't even weight them the same. Some reviewers have a stronger weight. Metacritic's a fascinating thing to look into. So just be aware of that. On top of that, the user score is an amazingly low 0.3.
Oh my.
And looking at some of these, now again, this is just people that probably are review bombing. So let's be honest.
Well, right. I mean, that happens pretty much any time you release anything and people are upset about it. They're going to go and they're going to voice their opinion because of social media and all that fun stuff and reviews and all of that. You're going to have that moment where people are going to go and review bomb it and just say, even tell their friends, "Hey, go put this thing on the website just so you can just do that." Like, who cares? Like, they don't even know the game. They're just saying things at this point.
Right. And it's obvious they're review bombing because here's some of the reviews that give this game a 0. The game is complete trash. Just another EA copy and paste year. Gameplay is horrible. Franchise mode has no substance to it. The yard is a very poor version of 2K's park. Again, talk about 2K 15 years ago. Unfortunately, the NFL only cares about dollars because it's obvious, cuz spelled C-U-Z. They obviously don't care about the quality of representing the league. And most of them are even shorter than that. The franchise mode is identical to last year. It's likely that they're not even trying anymore.
Spoiler alert. They've been doing this for like 10 years. This is nothing new.
Yes.
Like,
this is nothing new.
Why are these people seeing this now? like, come on.
I don't know.
Oh, man. That is wild.
In some ways, it's really ridiculous that they're going to that much effort to review bomb this stuff.
Yeah, that is just wild.
I mean, they really shouldn't be going to that much effort to like just complain about this because it's the same thing they have been doing already.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's interesting that Madden's back. It's kind of exciting that the fans are pushing this hard against this because, yeah, it has been going on for years. But, I mean, that's certainly no reason to just allow it to continue happening. It's kind of good that they're like telling EA, hey, enough is enough. It would love it if Sega brought back the 2K. Let's have some competition again.
Competition's always good in any aspect of any business. Keeps you honest.
Yeah. I mean, last year's Call of Duty has been one of the most played Call of Duties in years because of the innovations that they did.
Yeah, I actually bought it.
Because they have competition.
Yeah. I was surprised that I bought it. I haven't played a Call of Duty in years. But I definitely bought it as well. And I played it for like a month, 2 weeks, and then maybe a week. And then I install it.
That's like a lot for you.
I mean, yeah, like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks.
I tried to suggest Astroneer again, and you're like,
man, the sass is real. It is real. So, another big story this week, because there's a lot of big stories this week. But one of the big stories for PC people is that Nvidia revealed their next-gen graphics cards. And most people are like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, this is not anything new, but in this case, it is. So Nvidia actually released, they revealed that the new GeForce RTX 3070, the RTX 3080, and the RTX 3090 graphics cards at their special event this week. And the CEO basically had like a review and kind of talked about the new series and what's going on. I'm looking at a Polygon article, and you can look at it if you like. But basically, they have a new technology. It's called Ampere microarchitecture, and it's a 20 series GPU. We're based on the new Turing architecture. They've mentioned that this was one of the biggest generation leaps that they've had. They've ever had. A lot of these cards are compared. Apparently, a lot of people have been saying in the reviews I've been reading is that, like, this is probably the biggest jump since almost like 2004 as far as technology for graphics cards. So for what you're getting, like the biggest bang for the buck, like this is like through the roof, like astronomical at this point. So the RTX 3080 is what they consider their flagship for this series. And this starts off, so we all know, probably 5 years ago, the whole bit mining thing took off, and Nvidia stock went up because everything went out for sale because everybody bought like every single card available. And graphics cards, if you're trying to build a PC in the last 5 years, it was a terrible mess because you couldn't find a graphics card, or if you did, you had to pay like 3 times the price because everybody was Bitcoin mining. They were trying to do the farming. And so when they announced this, obviously everybody was like, oh, that's great. It sounds great. Everything sounds great. But what's the price? So they announced the new series. The RTX 3080 is actually only listed at $699, which is twice the performance of the 2080 at the same price.
Yeah, and I think the jump is important there too, because like when the 2080 came out at that price, it wasn't that much of a jump performance-wise over the 1080 that was at that price when it came out. So it was like kind of like, the 1080 at like, $600-700 gave you X amount of performance, and then the 2080 was like X times maybe like 0.5.
Yeah, if you just want to keep up with the newest cards, you buy it. But
it really wasn't this jump for the same price. But now the 3080, again, same price, but a significant. They were doing 4K Doom Eternal, the new Doom Eternal, 4K, 100 frames per second. No sweat off this thing.
Yeah. Like the 3080,
the pants off the 2080.
The 3080 is basically there. If you check out this Polygon article, you can look at it, and there's all kinds of articles online because this is a huge topic right now. It's basically almost 5 times the performance of the 2080 at the same price. So we're talking not just a little bit of performance extra. Oh, you just want to keep up a little bit with the times. You just want to make sure you have the newest card. I mean, this is like a no-brainer. If you were looking to upgrade and you were wanting to get the best bang for your buck, you and me and everybody else, you literally can get this card that's 5 times the 2080, which has been the top dog for a little bit. Same price point, and this will be released on September 17th. Like right around the corner. Yeah, it's
coming up.
The pre-orders I don't think are listed yet, but they're right around the corner. Like people are going to be.
And when we say same price point, we're basically saying same price point when they were released.
Yeah.
So when the 2080 was released in X amount, now the 3080s can be released at that same price point for when it first comes out.
So
and like there's huge innovations here. There's like the fact that the PCB for the circuits doesn't go the entire length of the card, so the back third of it has air go right through it. They literally have a fan on both sides, which is kind of handy because, like, for those that mounted their cards vertically, sometimes it would impede a little bit with like the tempered glass, so that the airflow would be a little bit less. Well, they have a fan on the backside now, so it's pulling air through and cooling it off. They're changing the way that they do cooling altogether. They are using faster memory. The 3090, which by the way, I believe is debuting for like $1,400.
Well, hold on, I wasn't there yet. So the 3080 is their flagship, and that has been listed at $699. Before we get to the 3090, we're going to talk about something that is actually a little less. So the 3070 that we mentioned so the 3080 has 10 gigs of GDDR 6x RAM video memory. And then the RTX 3070 has only 8 gigs, but the price point on this one, so it's not much, different, right? But the price point on this one's only $499. So we're talking still, even the 3070 on the scale of generation leap is still above the 2080 when it was released, but significantly cheaper and still like 3 times like the amount of like normal cards. So that's like insane. But yeah, if we talk about the 3090, so if you're really wanting to step it up and just really beef it out because Cyberpunk's coming, which we'll talk about later, because just all the new games and you want the 8K gaming experience, you'll get the 3090. And the 3090 has been dubbed BFGPU.
Stupid.
So yes. Big Furious GPU is what they quoted, is what they said. But
Furious.
Yeah, we know that's what it is.
They ain't even got the balls.
But basically with
big fucking GPU.
Yeah. The 3090 has got 24 gigs of virtual RAM. And this one's starting, it'll be available September 24th, so still this month. We'll still be able to see this at the end. When the pre-orders go online, I'm sure we'll cover it. If it's not, we'll talk about it. But this one's, even with that, like, and it's always so the 3090, I think it's actually it's not even,
slots wide.
Yeah, 3 slots wide.
Massive.
It's not listed on my generation gap graph here, but obviously the huge jump it has. This one still is only listed at $1499. So even with that,
only twice as much as the 3080.
True,
it's not an only.
But I'm saying over the last 5 years of like paying for cards, like this is still listed at like the price that you would buy a regular 1080 before. So I mean, like I said, if you want to spend more,
well, no, more like a 1080 Ti.
Yeah, well,
I would say.
But I mean, if you're wanting to spend the money and you really just want to get that, it's still not without reason for people who are looking to spend that kind of money. So
yeah, it's the TI range for the people that were getting TIs before. Obviously, if you're getting a new console, it's going to be about $499 for a console. So
yeah,
way different.
Exactly.
But it's going to have the ray tracing, sure, and the ray tracing, it looks stellar. Like Minecraft is completely transformed by ray tracing.
Yeah.
Then again, some people who are like showing their kids ray tracing, their kids are like, but Dad, I've had mods that do this for years in different ways. Sure. But it's not just that. It's, there's so much RAM on that 3090 that the RAM's actually on the back side of the PCB as well. So the cooling has to be on the back side. So they had to, do some innovations on that. It's not the first time RAM's been on both sides, but it's certainly, they had to think about it. But they're moving on beyond that as well. Because, they've got the ray tracing, they got the faster speeds, sure, but they're actually introducing some of the new technology that has been essentially developed for the consoles.
Yeah.
Because the concept of the consoles, there's always been this arms race between consoles and PCs.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. Because they want you to buy the console, and part of the appeal there that we talked about is that you get this kind of standard level of quality because all the games made for it, the hardware isn't changing much. It does change, actually. Even on the original Xbox, it changed. But you have the standard level of quality. Sure, that's one part of it. But the other part of it is that consoles can be like tuned because they aren't changing. They can really bring out the max out of it.
Yeah, overclock it, I guess you could say.
Well, not just overclocking, just tweaking stuff because you know what the hardware does, and you can optimize for it where you can't optimize for a PC because you don't know what hardware you're going to have.
Exactly.
So there was this arms race of like releasing the consoles to where they're a little bit better than the PC when they first come out, but then the PC overtakes them and goes beyond. So this time, one of the things that was developed for the consoles wasn't just, the faster SSD, which is available on PCIe 4, which is available on the AMD chipsets for computers. Not on Intel yet. Intel's behind on that. But what they developed, both on the Sony side and the Microsoft side, independently, they said, okay, we've got all these assets on the SSD. We got to pull them off. We got to give them the GPU. And how can we do that in such a way to do it the fastest possible? And they both independently came up with discrete, separate hardware that its only job is to decrypt and move these assets to the GPU as fast as possible. And both companies made those. Well, guess what? And this is directly from NVIDIA's site.
Which, if you want to see all the breakdown and all the specs, NVIDIA has it on their website. Obviously, they're just bloating all of this. Like, hey, just go look at it. Go read it. It's all available. It's all there.
Right. So, specific to what I was talking about, NVIDIA says, we've created NVIDIA RTX IO, input-output, a suite of technologies that enable rapid GPU-based loading and game assets decompression, accelerating input-output performance by up to 100 times compared to hard drives and traditional storage APIs. When used with Microsoft's new Direct Storage, which was developed for the new Xbox Series X, for Windows API, RTX IO offloads dozens of CPU cores worth of work. So instead of the CPU core decrypting this asset information from the hard drive and then sending it to the CPU, it's direct from the SSD through this discrete hardware to the CPU cores itself. So offloads dozens of CPU cores worth of work to your GeForce RTX GPU, improving frame rates, enabling near instantaneous game loading, and opening the door to a new era of large, incredibly detailed open world games. Very much what I was talking about before with like Ratchet and Clank on the Sony. So again, yes, it's awesome that Sony's can do that, but I don't want to hear Sony saying that they can't do this on the PC, because absolutely the technology exists and it's there. It's ready to go.
So to basically close this out, NVIDIA does have a promotion running right now. So if you do pre-order one or purchase one of the RTX 30 series, you're going to get a free copy of Watch Dogs Legion, or Watch Dogs Legion. So you'll be able to get that, and also a 1-year subscription of GeForce. So if you're interested in this, pick up a free game. Always check your local Micro Center, because they also do bundles, and potentially they could even probably match this and also give you extra things, because they love doing that. Super fan of shopping online and then going to Micro Center and letting them match and do all that. So, but yeah, those cards are out. Well, they'll be out here soon, September 17th and the 24th, and then also October for the 30. I think it's 3080 or 370. So huge jump, really crazy that that's happened. Finally, I guess it's a good time for that when we're all at home trying to stay home and play games and do what we can. So we'll see what happens with that.
You threw me off my game, because I've been looking forward to Watch Dogs Legions. But damn it, don't pre-order. Don't fall into that. Oh.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I don't pre-order. Even Cyberpunk, I'm probably going to wait to pick it up day of, or maybe even a day.
Be an informed buyer.
Yeah.
Wait until reviews come out.
Cyberpunk, though, I may have to buy a day of. It may have to happen.
Okay, yeah, well, yes, there's no denying that. But I'm talking about the cards. Don't pre-order the card for Watch Dogs Legions. Find out the actual reviews when they come out. But damn, that tempts me. Sorry. So talking about tempting, a lot of people were tempted to the dark side recently.
Recently?
Well, specifically recently to GTA. And in GTA Online, there was what was known as the apartment glitch. And this was a glitch where, at least per comicbook.com, this was a glitch where players could purchase an apartment, and through a series of menus, they could rack up massive amounts of money really quickly. Millions of online dollars.
That's a new one.
And it was a glitch that people knew about and people exploited.
Yeah.
so that they could get lots of inline current or online currency or in-game currency and use that to purchase things that they want. And as Rockstar Games reporter, this is again on comicbook.com, and insider Tez2 notes, those who utilize the glitch have been getting notified that their accounts have been wiped clean to varying degrees depending on how often the user participated in the glitches of this ilk. For example, some players have only had their money wiped from their content or from their account. Others have lost their entire character and progress.
Ooh. Now,
there's two sides of this. Is they're not using an outside application to cheat the system, right? They're not hacking the system here. They're using glitches that are in the game to do this. So there is that side of it. There is the other side that because this is an online persistent game with essentially an economy in it, that, you know, glitching is actually in the essentially the terms of service that you're not supposed to do this if you find one.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you do it, kind of glitcher beware. They didn't patch it out. I get it.
Well, the parts that really upset me is back when I used to play, and I think I mentioned this before in a previous podcast, but basically, you know, we weren't even responsible for the glitch. Like, there would be hackers that would pop in and just drop money into your account. Like, you would just start getting money. And then all of a sudden, like, all the money that I did work for, like maybe a couple 100,000 versus a couple million, all of that got wiped. So they weren't looking at, like, oh, specifically this money. They just saw, oh, you received a bunch of money that wasn't yours, so we're just going to take all of it. So that sucks. That sucks. I mean, that's just terrible.
It does, especially since you weren't the one that technically glitched.
Right, exactly.
Someone else glitched. And it does suck because that's a huge data problem of trying to figure out what money you had before, what money was glitched.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but why take all of my money?
It's a tough situation. But that one really sucks because you weren't the one glitching. Yeah. In this case, these people found the glitch and intentionally did it. And so Rockstar basically said in this Polygon article, quoting them, said, as part of our ongoing efforts to maintain a healthy game environment for all players, anyone found to be abusing exploits and cheats to illegitimately gain GTA dollars and in-game items may be subject to penalties, including cash balance adjustments, character resets, suspensions, and up to permanent bans as appropriate.
And let's also add, this is all about microtransactions. They introduced, back when I was playing online, this is back in 2015, I guess, 16 when the game came out, they introduced shark cards. So just like everything else, if you wanted to gain more money quickly, you could purchase a shark card, and the shark card could be worth, you know, in-game currency of $10,000, whatever. How many dollars you spend, you could transfer that into in-game currency. So that's the other part of this, is where you have, like, where my scenario, where I was given money that I didn't have, but I worked for some of it. They took all of it. So they're like, I don't care. Well, if you want the money back, you can just pay for it. On this side, here we are too. It's like they could just literally just make you pay for it.
Yeah, and you know, it's a tough situation. I mean, it takes a while for them to code out a glitch.
Yeah.
So I get the reason why the glitch is in there for a while. It
also takes them a while to update Red Dead Redemption.
Well, yeah. There's a callback to a couple episodes
I'm not salty here. I'm not salty.
You know, and at the same time, as we said in a couple episodes ago, this GTA Online is one of the major income sources for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they don't want people circumventing the system. I get that. And in all reality, people are super mad when they get their account resets. Here's a couple of tweets. And again, this is in the Polygon article. These tweets that I'm quoting. One of them is, so I've been playing GTA Online since 2014. It's so stupid how they patch these money glitches and then reset our accounts instead of a money wipe. Yet Rockstar keeps the God mode glitches in the game for the griefers. Goodbye, GTA, Rockstar. You guys have messed up.
Yep.
And
did I write that? Did you get that off my Twitter? No. Okay, that wasn't me.
Well, you had a money wipe, not like an entire reset like this guy.
No, I know. It's just I feel I can feel that. I can feel that.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's also kind of hard to say, hey, yeah, they keep these God glitches in there. Well, no, I mean, they're trying to work on that too. They don't want those in there either because, again, that affects their economy. They want to get rid of those too. Sometimes those are harder to remove.
True. I mean,
but if you have a set of tasks that you do that create a whole bunch of money, that's easier to code out.
Yeah. I totally get it from both aspects because it's, as a player, I can be frustrated. And on the developer side, I'm not saying I'm a developer. I've coded one game for my own self, like a little 5-minute thing. It's not a big deal at all. But I had to learn how to do that. And I can definitely respect game developers on how hard it is to just take out little glitches like that. Like, that's crazy. And then on top of that, being in like the IT field, like there's a lot of things that happen that you have to realize that like they're not just easy to fix. It may seem easy on the top surface level, but it can really be something that even maybe it can't be fixed. Maybe it's a game breaking glitch like we've talked about before, but like something that really just the only way to fix it would be to literally break the game because it would break something else that would end up causing bigger issues. So
yeah, and one of the other tweets, again, these are all valid points. I'm not besmirching these people at all. These people, I respect their opinion, and I respect them voting with their pocketbook, their wallets. Yeah. I respect that. That's awesome. And I see the developer side, like you said. But this guy says, yep, my GTA account has been reset. And again, when they're talking about reset, they're not just talking about the money. Their entire character progression has been reset.
I could hear the tone in that tweet. You're just like, yep.
It gets better.
It's gone.
It gets better. Yep, my GTA account has been reset. Uninstalling the game. Bye at Rockstar Games. Not going to play GTA Online ever again. You left that glitch in there. It wasn't my fault, nor anyone else's. Bye-bye, money-hungry fuckers. Second F-bomb. Definitely have to hit the explicit tag on this one.
Yep, it's going to happen.
But, I mean, I get what he says. They left the glitch in there until they could patch it out. At the same time, no one forced you to use that glitch.
It's true.
So
I get it, but at the same time, I can't. Yeah, it's tough.
I think this is one of those cases where the punishment far outweighed the crime is what we got here.
Yeah.
There's probably a better way they could. The first tweet said it. Hey, why don't you just do a money wipe? Yeah. Don't reset all my character progress. Don't take away all my items. Just do a money wipe. And I also respect that Rockstar has to do something because no one's forcing them to use this glitch. At the same time, who hasn't been in the position? I mean, I'll raise my hand. I was a dumb young kid and I played around with Quake 2, and for a short time, I loaded up an aimbot just to see what it would do with railguns. And I didn't play with it long time. I did it for like 20, 30 minutes. I cheated. But it was just interesting to see what the technology would do.
Yeah.
There's that forbidden fruit of like, oh, I wonder what this would do. So I get the temptation, and I don't think I've done anything quite to that level since. But no, I get it. I get why a couple people did some glitches. Do you need to entirely wipe the characters? It seems a bit excessive.
It's kind of like big stick policy. They're kind of like, we can do the normal glitch or the normal wipe your account, but wipe your money. But at the same time, what kind of effect does that have on the people who are playing? Are they going to continue doing it? Are they going to have to continue wiping accounts and really paying attention to that? Or can they just scare the people by going, all right, your account's gone? And then people like this who complain about it, other people can say, well, shit, I don't want to do that because that guy got his whole character reset. Like, that's crazy. So
yeah, wipe their money to 10% of what it was, or 1% of what it was.
Yep.
Don't wipe everything out. Just wipe out, what reasonably they would have like inflated because of the glitch.
Yep.
Well, whatever. Enough of that. Everybody's been waiting for it because it happens every week. Without fail, this will be every week until release. Because right now, it's Xycia's favorite time. It's the Cyberpunk 2077 update of the week.
Well, thank you there, Phoenix. So this week on our Cyberpunk update, so we talked about the new cards coming out. We talked about the Nvidia, the 3070, 3080, 3090. The best news, well, some of the best news we got this week is that they actually released a trailer of what the game potentially looks at running the new RTX 30 series. You can go check it out online. It's there. I think it's on the Nvidia site, I think, actually, the YouTube for Nvidia. You can check it out there. Maybe Cyberpunk probably has it posted too. But it's basically, obviously, it's really pretty. It has all of the pretty things that you could possibly want. Reflections, like they have ambient, like it's diffusion, like light diffusion. So it's like the whole Cyberpunk thing where it's all neon lights and like there's fog. So it just looks, everything's really diffused. I mean, I can't talk about it enough. It looks super pretty. Go check it out. The only thing they did say is that they didn't mention what card they were actually using. They just said it was the RTX 30 series. So was it the 70, 80, or 90? We don't know at this moment. But it's a beautiful trailer. Go check it out. Another little Cyberpunk little thing for you that we're going to throw in here at the end here, because I don't really have a whole lot else to say. Yeah, he's got the trailer playing. So the other thing they mentioned this week is that somebody on Twitter posted and was like, hey, what are the requirements for this game? Because, what's happening? Like we know with Modern Warfare, was it Modern Warfare that had the 260 gig update or something like that? It was ridiculous.
Massive.
Yeah. So they're like, well, what are we looking at here? Do I need to buy a new PC? Do we need to, what are we doing? And they actually tweeted out, and this is from, they said, while the Cyberpunk game system requirements are not out yet, they're coming soon, though, so they're talking about doing this soon. I wanted to address the topic from Reddit. I was actually posted on Reddit, sorry. The game won't take up 200 gigs when installed. You can expect the required HDD space to be on par with other modern titles. Again, we don't know what that means. So what is the modern title? Because Modern Warfare is also a modern title. So we don't really know, but they're saying it's not going to be that bad, apparently.
Flight Simulator is
160.
Over 100 gigs.
So
it's a modern title.
So I don't know what that means, but they're promising us that it's not going to be bad. So with that being said, we're going to take a small short break here for our sponsors, and we'll see you in just a minute. And we're back. So we're going to start the shorts off today with a free game you can check out. There is a game called Spellbreak, and it is actually pretty awesome. I've actually played it before, played it during the early access or the beta testing they did. It's a battle royale style game, and yeah, I know we've talked about battle royales, and I've voiced my opinion on how I feel about battle royales. But the Spellbreak series is a little different, and actually kind of gives you a breath of fresh air in a sense. I know we had that same kind of feeling with Apex. With this one is a little different because it's all based on magic and elements. So what happens is battle royale. There's 60 people going into an arena essentially, or a map, and you're trying to battle to be the number one squad. Essentially, and what it is each character has a different element you can pick from, and during the game there's like gauntlets you can pick up that give you different type of abilities. But the thing is, you can have two different abilities at the same time. So if your character is a water character, then you can pick up a let's say a flame character, along with you pick up a gauntlet for earth. Well,
Steam.
You can then like shoot a huge boulder into the air and then shoot it with your left gauntlet and make it a fire boulder and then launch it at your player. Or you can shoot, if you had a water
meteors.
Yeah, water gauntlet, you could shoot a long like strip of water, like frozen water, and then you can use your electricity and electrify it, and then that's my new word, but actually make it like completely shock the player that's on it. So there's a lot of different aspects like that. It's a really neat game. I don't want to get too much involved with it, but you can definitely check it out. It's called Spellbreak. It's available free to play right now. I'm sure there's going to be some microtransactions included with it, but it's definitely fun. It's definitely a new spin on the BR realm, so I would definitely check it out.
Yeah, I've seen it played before by a couple of the people that I follow online, and it looked pretty cool. But you know what? It's all blah, blah, blah. All I know is I saw a character just riding along a frozen thing of water, like surfing it, like, what was it in The Incredibles? Frozen?
Or it was like Silver Surfer or something.
No.
The Incredibles is different. Yeah.
The Incredibles.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. I think it was Frozen or something like that. But I mean, he's just like surfing along this thing of ice. And I was like, count me in. And not only is it free to play, and by the way, it's free to play with all the associated, like, buy this, blah, blah, Indian currency, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of that. So be aware of that. But it's released. It's out now, today.
Oh, yeah.
The 3rd.
Today. September 3rd.
Today. So you can get it on the Epic Game Store at least. Go ahead and check that out. So, talking about recurring stories like Cyberpunk 2077.
Not as fun.
This just keeps coming up. And there was a couple of things that came up with the whole Apple and Epic and everything. And, Apple actually did end up taking away the dev tools from Epic, even though the judge said they couldn't. And I did not have it in me to read that much about that. I was like, oh, that's just terrible. On both sides, it's terrible because we know some of it's manufactured on Epic's side. But then this other story came up that kind of, again, got my attention. And that was that in CNBC article, apparently Facebook had presented a new application to Apple and Apple rejected it. Well, that's because, per the article, quoting it, Facebook launched a new feature that lets businesses host paid online events, something that myself and Mike Xycia have been talking about with like the concerts and other like, we've talked about like even drive-in type theaters. We've talked about like a Fortnite on that, stuff like that. We're like taking these events and making them online events. So Facebook launched this new app, this new feature that lets businesses host paid online events in the effort to renew some of the business lost due to COVID-19. Facebook specifically asked Apple to reduce its 30% App Store cut, since it wanted all the money to go directly to small businesses.
Right, makes sense.
So Facebook releases this new feature for free so that businesses can do this, and businesses set a price, and Facebook wanted all of that price to go to that businesses. But because it goes through the App Store, Apple is going to get 30% of it per their terms of service, as we had previously discussed. Of course, that was rejected. It gets better. So because it was rejected, Facebook decided to take it to the next level. And again, quoting from the CNBC article, in an effort to inform users of Apple's cut, Facebook instead planned to add a line inside the iPhone app that informs users that Apple takes 30% of this purchase, which I think is a great bit of transparency of like, fun. Hey, Mr. Business, I know you're setting the price of admission to this for like $10, but Apple's going to take 30% of that, $3, just to let you know ahead of time, because that's why you're not getting the whole $10.
Right.
So that makes sense. Facebook was unsure if Apple would approve this language, and ultimately it didn't. So Apple totally rejected that one. Kind of continuing Facebook, which again is not the most upstanding of companies we know. This is like the lesser of two evils here.
Yeah, really. Compared to them at Apple, yeah.
But Facebook says now more than ever, we should have the option to help people understand where money they intend for small business actually goes. I agree with this. A Facebook spokesperson told CNBC, Unfortunately, Apple rejected our transparency notice around the 30% tax. But we're still working to make that information available inside the app experience. So, I hate to root on the side of Dr. Evil going, I want your billions. But just to let you know, Apple's going to take 30% of your billions.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, I mean, I get it. They're trying to do something helpful for businesses here, and instead Apple wants to take their cut per their terms of service. So they're just trying to say, hey, just to let you know, this is why you're not getting all that money, because we're not taking it. It's going here. And then Apple's like, no, can't say that either. What?
Oh, God. Oh, well, I guess still till next week when we find more stories about them or someone in the space.
Sure, we will.
So another cool thing that I saw this week was actually a product named Polymega. If you're not familiar with Polymega, what it is actually a modular system that allows you to play old games from old consoles. Okay, sounds like a ROM emulator that you could probably buy or make yourself in a Raspberry Pi. In this case, it's actually not. What they're actually promising with their product is you're able to play the old cartridges that you have laying around your house, if you do have them. This product is basically going to be a modular system, so you can actually take those Nintendo games you still have in your closet, Atari, or not, I don't know if it's Atari essentially, but all these different types of games you do have, these cartridges, and you can actually pop them in and play them. Like I said, it's a modular system, so depending on what platform that you want to play, you'll have to buy the purchase for that. But they're giving you the ability to be able to take use to the games that you do have still, like in your closet or potentially even on in your living room, because I do have mine out for display, that you can do that. They have them already available for pre-order. They don't have. They said the price is actually going to be $399.99, and then each modular set is $79.99. So it depends on, and the controllers range from $29.99 to $39.99. So there's a lot of cost, I guess, for what you're getting. But if you're still wanting to be able to play those old games that you literally have still, this is an option for you.
Yeah, you brought this up, and I actually looked into this a little bit on my own. It's really interesting because there's concepts like this have been around. You've got the Retron 5, which is very similar, where it allows you to plug in your original cartridges, your games, directly into it. A little bit different with this new one, the Polymega, because it allows some CD games. And very much like the Retron, there's only certain systems right now that are supported by the Polymega. I think it was like, what, PlayStation 2, was it?
Basically, I'll have to look. It doesn't play ROMs for sure. And
yeah, you can't download direct ROMs to it, at least until it does have some ROM capability. Like if you have something that's a multi-CD game, you can inject the CDs individually and it'll copy them locally. It's not going to dump ROMs from your cartridge into there, but it will take the BIOSes, which is interesting. That's a very important part.
NES and SNES is what they've listed so far.
Yeah, and then there was 2 disc games, 2 CD-based games, consoles. But it's software emulation, and there's nothing wrong with that. The Retron 5 was very much a software emulator. The Retron 5 is, by the way, I'm looking at a price of $66.97.
Yeah.
$66.
Big difference.
And 97 cents. And not modular, and not like, like all these different very specific controllers that you have to buy separately. And that thing plays NES, Super Famicom, Genesis, Mega Drive, Famicom, Game Boy Color, and GBA cartridges in one system. And it's literally got all these different slots on it that you can plug in.
Well, one of the things,
I'm not saying one is better than the other.
Yeah, well, one of the things with the Polymega, they do have, what I thought was pretty neat, is that they actually have a light gun you can purchase. So I don't know if you're familiar, if you haven't played with a light gun since probably either, I think PlayStation 2, Time Crisis was the last light gun that I used. And if you have a new HD TV, you can't play light guns on those, because the way the light gun actually worked was
Right.
with the old style TVs, because of the way that the light refracted from the actual TV. But they actually have a HD TV version of a light gun that you can actually use on up to date TV. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was another module that would be included in this. So it's, if you want to do that, you can. Yeah, there's other options out there for sure. I think there's actually another one you wanted to mention.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the other options is called the Mister. And it's one of the very popular options out there, because where the Mister is a little bit different is that it's an FPGA, and that's a field programmable gate array. And it's essentially a giant chip where you can program how the transistors in it are arrayed and how they talk to each other. So you can literally program it to become the hardware chips of the system you want to emulate. So instead of being a software emulator, which is where you kind of need the BIOS on the Polymega has this option of like, oh, if that particular BIOS isn't supported by us, you can dump it out of your cartridge, because again, you need the original cartridges and games for the Polymega, and that's a good thing for many reasons. But you might have to dump the BIOS out of there and then load it into the Polymega to play the games. The FPGA of the Mister, as far as the images are concerned, they literally become the hardware of what they're emulating. They are the same transistor layout, whether it's a Super NES or a PlayStation 2 or actual arcade cabinets.
Okay.
It creates multiple chips within this thing to emulate the hardware as closely as possible. And of course, it can run off of ROMs. So ROM dumps, now you're technically supposed to own the game and make the ROM dump from it so that you're not pirating anything.
Pirating's bad.
Pirating's bad. But it's an amazing device out there. And interestingly enough, to get into a Mister is about the same or less than the Polymega, and it is a lot more flexible because it can literally emulate like these early PC systems like out of Japan.
Yeah.
That at least for the interests of like maintaining the existence of these games is kind of critical. Like almost like museum era type thing of like, hey, we don't want to lose this stuff to time. So there's people out there recreating these chipsets that they can, then load it down to the image of the Mister, and then you could play these games. The one PC game of the Super Mario Brothers is, I think it's Super Mario Brothers Special, I think is what it's called, is insane. It is the most frustrating game because you go to the edge of the screen and it stops and it moves the whole screen over, and then your character continues, including like just falling to its death because you didn't see that there was a pit coming up. Oh, it's a terrible, terrible PC game. Amazing if you go look it up. But I'm not saying don't get one. It's certainly, if you have the physical media already, it's a great way to be able to play that physical media again on modern TVs and have that light gun too.
And also one console cool. is the other thing too. Whereas, with like having the multiple consoles with all these things, and potentially I actually have a TV stand where I have all these multiple consoles, and over time I have been kind of dwindling them down because just getting the console to work after 30 years is pretty tough anyway. The one thing I want to mention before we move on is that Mister is like the size of a Raspberry Pi. So it's not pretty in any sense. Like it's not like the Polymega has got like
raw
an actual
PCB.
Console look, where this one is literally like a Raspberry Pi. It has the chipset, everything you can see, fans. Like you can probably mod this probably pretty easily, and that's very small. So it's a little different on that one.
Oh yeah, very different. I mean the Mister's an enthusiast, like hobbyist, like you got to sit down and you got to play with it to get it going.
Yeah.
And some people even like have 3D printed cases that you can print out, put in a case, and But yeah, you have to be pretty dedicated to it.
Yeah.
So bringing things down a notch.
Here we go.
And we almost specifically avoid political topics here on purpose.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But this was such a crossover that I had to bring it up. And I'm not advocating any party over the other party. It's just so happens that this party made this move, so I'm talking about it. Could have been the other side. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about what happened. Politics have invaded one of the hashtag Run Economy's favorite kind of chillax games, which is Animal Crossing.
Oh my.
Which Animal Crossing has been doing great in the Run Economy.
Oh yeah,
because
we've
people
definitely
want
covered that
to
before.
escape. Right. And per this Polygon article, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris take the presidential campaign to Animal Crossing.
Oh my God.
And I'll actually pop this up before I read some of the quotes. It's just amazeballs what they're doing here.
Oh my goodness.
They are legit. So one of the things in Animal Crossing is that players and just people that are in the game can create kind of their own content. And it's one of the beautiful powers of this game. And some of the drawbacks, I mean, we saw the fireworks and people were making these beautiful custom fireworks displays. And then other people were doing fireworks and sharing their friends that were just dick butts in the sky.
And other people were just stealing people's turnips because they could swim.
That too. And people stealing people. Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of customer and player created content. So that's what their campaign people did, is they created content that you could directly download into Animal Crossing. And, direct quote out of the Polygon article, again, quoting another person: Animal Crossing is a dynamic, diverse, and powerful platform that brings communities together from across the world.
Wow.
For a political campaign happening in the United States. Okay. It is an exciting new opportunity for our campaign to engage and connect Biden-Harris supporters as they build and decorate their islands. Kristen Tom, Director of Digital Partnerships for the Biden campaign, said in a statement, actually to The Verge. That statement was to The Verge. Polygon quoted it from there. So I'm like quoting a quote of a quote.
Basically.
Anyway. I love that the Polygon article goes on to the next level on this. Does this mean we'll see more in-game campaign integrations? Where's the Biden Minecraft server? Biden and Harris take on Fall Guys?
Oh my goodness.
Personally, I hope not. I do not want. This is an important year in the States for politics. I get that, and I support that. But please, it's already been in our media for TV for years and years and years. Yep. We're seeing the media, of course, on the internet. We're seeing it in people's yards. And again, they have to get the message across. I get that. So I'm not against that. You get the mailers in your, mailbox, you get the emails.
The cell phone
Does it
calls.
really need to spill over into our games?
Well, that's the part that I totally agree with you on, is it's the spilling over into the game platform. So the game platform is where we like to all get away. We want to take a break and just escape. And now we're not escaping. But at the same time, we've talked about this before with how Facebook is running their campaigns for ads and influencing even what we are seeing on TV. So it's, it doesn't surprise me that we're getting to this point where we're influencing video games. And this is probably, I'm sure if we look in the history, this is not the first time video games have been influenced by politics.
No, not at all.
So it's funny and sad at the same time. I feel like we're not a political podcast. We're not out here to talk about politics. Whether you care, don't care, vote for the left side, right side, or in the middle, or whoever, it was just something interesting that came up, and hopefully that we won't see that more in the future because we'd rather just escape. But it is still interesting nevertheless.
I do appreciate that something that's easy to opt out on because it's at a person's island. So either you opt in to do it at your island, or if you see it at someone else's island that you're visiting, you can always just leave their island.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is that positive part too.
Yeah.
So it's not super intrusive.
Well, actually, for community information, which is pretty neat. So if you guys are avid Valve followers or zombie followers, there's a game that we always talked about. We wished that the third game would come out eventually, and we haven't seen it. So, but the game I'm talking about,
Half-Life 3.
What did you say? Far Cry 3?
Half-Life 3.
Oh, Half-Life 3. Yeah, we still didn't get that. We thought we got it, but we didn't get that either.
Portal 3.
Not Portal 3 either. Unfortunately, that's still not the same game. But we actually did get an update for Left 4 Dead 2. So Left 4 Dead 2,
Left 4 Dead 3,
Left 4 Dead 2. It's just an update. So Left 4 Dead 2 is, well, the Left 4 Dead series is made by Valve, the owners of Steam. They were a game company before they were just a platformer. If most people didn't know that at this point, they made Left 4 Dead, and Left 4 Dead was a first-person shooter that was based in a zombie world where you're basically you and 3 other people or NPCs. You're on a team. You're kind of going through maps to try to get yourself to the safe location to be able to like escape the zombies. And there's multiple running zombies. They're all fast. And then there's also specific specialized zombies that you could find that had different abilities that can.
Oh, the witches.
Yeah. Oh God, the witch. Don't
terrible.
mess with the witch.
Oh my God.
Either way, you can look this up. This game is super old at this point. It's literally 11 years old. This is the Left 4 Dead 2. So there's Left 4 Dead 1 out there too as well. You can find. So right on the Source engine, obviously. But it's been 11 years since it's been out, and Valve has definitely done security updates and bug updates as needed just to make sure that the game is still runnable. They didn't end of life it or anything like that. But what was announced recently is there's a new content update that's coming to Left 4 Dead 2 called The Last Stand. And The Last Stand is a collaborative, this is from a PC Gamer article, it's a collaborative effort by the community for the community. So according to the teaser, it'll be released as an official update. So not only is this not made by Valve, it's made by the community, but Valve is backing it as an official update. The actual update itself for the actual Last Stand looks to be a survival map that was originally in the Left 4 Dead series, but they never actually ported it over, and this time they're actually releasing it along with the content that was created. So there's probably, and if you're not familiar with it, there's multiple mods for Left 4 Dead 2 right now. You can go to the store and the workshop and actually check it out. I've seen literally, like, I sent this video to Brian not too long ago. It's like literally the intro to Ocarina of Time for Legend of Zelda, and everyone has a tunic on, and you're literally fighting all the zombies there, and you can find the Master Sword, and you can just battle your way all the way up from the Lost Forest all the way up to the actual Forest Temple. Like, you can literally, and it's like pretty much the same puzzles and everything that you'd find in Ocarina of Time, except it's Left 4 Dead 2. So they're in the mods out. The mod community is crazy. I've seen Zorberg from Futurama a part of this as well. Like, every zombie was just him, and so there's a lot of mods out there. People are constantly still playing this. It's still a fun game, but it's good to hear that they're actually backing a community release, and it's considered a full official update, and there's still some sort of life being given to the Left 4 Dead series.
Very cool. And yeah, I was a fan of that series back in the day. It'd be fun to play it again. Again, those witches.
Oh, the witches.
I'd much rather go against the big bloaty guys than the witches.
The boomers.
Just don't touch the witches. So this next one's a little bit different. It does tie into games. As usual, sometimes, we're just talking about stuff that got our attention. One of them from Showbiz Cheat Sheet was talking about Daisy Ridley, who was, of course, in the most recent Star Wars trilogy.
She's Rey.
And she was Rey. And that she's actually, and believe me, Daisy Ridley, the more that I've seen her outside of Star Wars, she seems like just this genuinely likable, down-to-earth type person.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to be like overly stuck up because of the Star Wars stuff. She definitely seems to be like on the Mark Hamill side of things when it comes to Star Wars. Not saying that anybody was particularly bad out there. I mean, Harrison Ford is a reasonable person out of there too.
Carrie Fisher rip
from the original series. Yeah. Yeah. And but still, even to the fact where there was a video on YouTube done by Michelle Christina Smith, who is a bit of a stunt woman, and she did this like lightsaber spinning around thing and catching it, and it's an amazing video. You should go check it out. But Daisy Ridley did a reaction video to it. Basically, she was on, I think, one of the GQ videos that was talking about her and her Google stats, and then they showed her this video, and she like lost her shit. She was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" And then, of course, Michelle Christina Smith did her reaction video to Daisy Ridley's reaction video. I recommend going out and checking those two things out. Those are pretty cool. But going back to cheatsheet.com, they were basically stating that, since she's finished the Star Wars series, she's had a couple difficulties finding work, and not all of it's from the, hashtag Rona economy, although that's part of it that has slowed things down. But even, as early as January, where it was just kind of starting off, I still went to a convention in March, so we know things hadn't slowed down too much before then. Yeah. So she said, even in January, she said, quoting the article, she said, weirdly, at the beginning of the year, nothing was coming through. And she had gone out and she had auditioned for a lot of things. She was like, I was like, aw, no one wants to employ me. And I saw that. I was like, that is the cutest thing. And it didn't end up being all bad. It was actually kind of a good thing, because at first she kind of freaked out, at the beginning of the year, because, the stuff wasn't coming through. At the same time, she kind of had a reality check too. She kind of took a step back, and she kind of told herself, okay, everything is right time. And actually things have turned around. She's actually, bringing it back to the game side of things, she's going to be doing a voice actor in an upcoming game called 12 Minutes, alongside James McAvey and William Dafoe. And 12 Minutes, if you have not heard about this game, I've seen some of it, and in a way it can be a very decisive game. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very hard for some people because it tackles some hard topics, some difficult topics. It's a top-down game. You're looking down at basically this apartment, and it's 12 minutes in the life of this couple. And the actions you can take can go a whole bunch of different directions, and it kind of starts over, and you learn to go maybe a different direction. But it could be things like, the wife is admitting to her husband that she's pregnant, and his reaction, depending on things, can be negative or positive. And there can be things like the police showing up because of things like domestic violence. It could be that he kills the police officer. And sometimes that could be kind of ish in self-defense. I mean, it really tackles some hard topics, and it looks like it could be a very interesting game. So she's going to be voice acting in that, which is pretty amazing. And on top of that, she apparently has some type of super secret project coming up as well. She didn't say whether it's movie or game-wise, but I don't know. She's got my interest just because she's so down to earth about this stuff. I'm kind of interested in what she's going to be doing next.
Yeah, I'm also interested in this next topic. Speaking of video games, so if anybody is actually in the market for a job, if you're looking for a job and you're in the Austin area of Texas, Tesla is hiring for game developers. Right, exactly.
That's a good place to hire game developers.
That silence that we had there is because we're talking about Tesla, the car maker. The advertising,
which is usually in California too.
The posting was they're looking for a video game engineer, they're looking for a software engineer that knows vehicle use with C++, and then also a rendering engineer. And the actual description was this. This is from their Tesla's career website. It says, Tesla strives to make its cars the most fun as possible. Bringing video game experiences to the car help it increase the fun. In this incredibly rare opportunity to help build a video game platform, we are looking for highly motivated software engineers to help enable the best video game content to be available in-car. Come put the industry experience to great use and help us build this platform. Wait, what? We're talking about vehicles here. Why are we building games for vehicles? So, I have a lot of feelings.
Do they understand how many states have distracted driver laws?
Yes, so if you haven't had a Tesla, which many of us don't, there's actually a Tesla arcade that's actually built into the interface they have in the vehicle. It's an entertainment center or console or whatever you want to call it. Infotainment, correct. And they have games like Cuphead, and there's a couple other games, the Beach Buggy Racing 2. So they have these other games already available, which I've been in a friend's Tesla, and you're not able to play these while they're driving, I think. But
I think.
But there are available on the platform. So I guess in this case, are they looking for someone to actually build a new game from Tesla? Tesla's the game maker. I don't exactly think so, but who knows? But they also are looking for these people to help potentially build the platform and make sure that they're able to continue working. Because, getting those games to work in their platform may be a challenge as well. So maybe that's what we're looking at. But either way, Tesla's looking for game developers. So if you're interested in doing two things you're probably really interested in, go to Austin, Texas. They're hiring.
And enabling two things that people shouldn't be doing at the same time.
Exactly.
Oh, goodness gracious. The Polygon article that I'm looking at is in regards to a game that I've known about for a long time and has been a fantastic game. It's the depth in Path of Exile, which, if you're not familiar with the game, it's very similar to a Diablo type game, like a Diablo 3 type game, except that its skill tree it's more like a skill web. It's amazing what you can do in it, but they're kind of taking it to the new level. So September 18th is when this will happen, that players of Path of Exile will be able to, in the new season, participate in something called heists. Now, heists. Okay, well, we know those.
Yeah.
Those happen in GTA 5 all the time. Yep. They have been for years. Even in the single-player game.
Payday.
You could get a crew together, and then you decide what options you're going to go into, and you case the joint, and then you go and get supplies for it, and then you go in there and you pull off the heist and steal something, and you got to do a getaway. And that's familiar territory, but in a Diablo-esque game, that's kind of new. So they're going to have it where just playing normally, you're going to come across new types of currencies, markers and contracts. Now, markers allow you to essentially enter Rogue Harbor, which is a new area that you're going to be able to have access to. And contracts allow you to get these special heist missions within the Rogue Harbor. And this can be single player or co-op. And you can create a contract and put together you can hire these AI players to go with you. And you go into this area and you're trying to steal an artifact from that area. But on the way, there's different things that can occur, including traps and guards. and other treasure rooms. And if you make too much noise, the guards lock down the artifact and you're done.
Okay.
You can try to get those other treasures on the way, but sometimes it causes a little extra noise. You can, if you get the artifact, if you actually make it to the artifact, you steal it, but instantly the guards are alert. So then you got to make your getaway. And you have to get out alive to be able to get the artifact. And even then, the artifacts, you sell the fences that get you tickets towards the grand heist. And then the grand heist, you get special, unique items that really alter things. So they could be replica unique items or alternate quality gems. Both of them have slightly different uses. But essentially, it's things like, well, before this one allowed you to increase your critical damage if you made a critical strike. Instead, this new one allows you to increase the raw damage, so it's more useful for all the time. And it ends up that a player can only get one of these things from the Grand Heist. And whoever, if you're playing co-op, whoever did the contract gets the item. But they can offer to trade it to the other person. Well, the other thing that they said is they're hoping to have the dynamic of like, oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. So this time I'm going to do the contract and we'll try to get the Grand Heist item. And then next time you'll do the contract and I'll help you. Yeah. So I'm not sure how much this is actually going to be a heist or just a different way to roll through a dungeon.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how this pans out.
For sure. So Fall Guys is a game we've been talking about for a long time. Oh, I say a long time, like a month now. We've played it for probably a few weeks ago.
3 weeks.
So Fall Guys is still in season 1. They have announced recently at I think it was the Gamescom reveal that they've got basically season 2 coming. And they showed a little bit of season 2 and what that is. And they're pushing out, obviously, so there's going to be new levels, new party games, essentially, several mini games that were shown. And some through, like, jumping through rings, racing to the finish, along with some other ones that, like, have new elements, like ramps and blocks, that blocks the Fall Guys and have to push them and shove them in place before they can climb. They also introduced a whole new slew of costumes that you can get. So now players can dress like wizards or warriors or even dragons running around the level. This is a PC Gamer article. They were talking about this. Fall Guys Season 1 actually ends in October. So early October. So we still got Season 1 going for now. So Season 2 will come. And actually today I saw another article that was announced that apparently there's going to be a Hammer of Yeetus that potentially will yeet players into the distance. So I don't know exactly what that is going to actually entail as far as a level, but that has been an announcement. So that's pretty interesting. On the other side of this, to end, this is basically the last thing we're going to talk about, to end on a positive note, Fall Guys actually tweeted on their account the other day, and this was on the 31st of August, and they basically said raising $1 million for special effects will have such an incredible impact. We now sort out the donations while our artists still start to collab with winners on their skins. Yes, we will include 4 costumes as a special thanks to the amazing people that made this possible. So they raised $1 million for a company called Special Effect. Special Effect, if you're not familiar, they are basically a UK-based charity company that is leveling the playing field for gamers with physical disabilities. So kids who are not able to play with a controller because they may not have 2 hands, or maybe they're just not able to move their arms, or maybe that they don't have arms at all, sadly as that may sound. They are a charity that's basically working with those gamers, those kids, and having different means to be able to let them play games, whether that's like through their mouth or maybe through their feet, depending on whatever scenario they're in. And they were able to raise $1 million for that charity event. So that was really neat.
Yeah, the bidding was amazing too, between like Ninja's team, like outbidding Mr. Beast's team, and then like 2 teams like Ninja and Aim Lab combining together. That was just, and they basically called it like a 4-way tie, and all of you win, and the money goes to charity. I think the other great thing is that this charity is also working with the Microsoft Accessibility Controller, which is, everybody thinks of Microsoft as like, closed box, and we're like keeping everything tight. And that's true in a lot of things. I'm not going to contest that. But it was really amazing when they came out with the accessibility controller, which works like with the Xbox consoles. It works with the PC, but it is a controller with larger buttons, very programmable and open. It's essentially an open source controller, and it allows for other manufacturers to create things that go along with this controller. So that's one of the things that this charity is going to be working with as well. So it's kind of cool where they're kind of bringing this all together and helping bring in other gamers to the fold, because
helping people to be able to become gamers that aren't even able to technically play. I mean, based on the controller setup that we have,
or at least not play as easily. And Logitech is involved in this as well. So they're having a toolkit that actually enhances the Xbox adaptive controller. Again, it being an open platform. So this is amazing. The more people we get out there to become gamers, to help them escape some things, help them to, just be happier in general, catharsis of like working out some of that like frustration, regardless of whether you have, any kind of issue or disability or not. That's not the point. It's bring people into the fold and make this more accessible for everyone. That's where we win.
I mean, we mentioned before, there was something that you mentioned. It was like a desk for a keyboard, and it wasn't necessarily, something convenient you could have, but it's also for the accessibility of people who may not have the ability to be able to sit at a desk and a chair for a long time. So those are really cool things. If you guys see anything out there that is similar to this, or any other charities that potentially are doing this, let us know. I would love to cover stories like this. This is a great thing. I'd love to keep the positivity going, because obviously we're all stuck at home, and it's still sad for us to be able to sit here, but there's people out there that are really struggling just to do normal things, and stories like this really make us feel good. So
absolutely. And Xycia, how can they let us know?
Well, they can let us know. First off, kudos to Fall Guys and Metatonic for doing this. Super cool. Hopefully we'll see some more. But if they want to let us know, you can obviously write us an email to goa@sassgaming.com. So it's goa@sassgaming.com. Or if you join the live stream, we also do on Thursday nights at 9 p.m., which is when this airs originally. There's also time in between the news stories and the shorts that we actually cover any questions from the audience, any of the viewers that are out there. So if you ever want to ask some questions about some of the things we talked about, or just get our opinion on whatever, or tell us whatever, we'll cover that information then as well. So with that information being said, obviously subscribe, tell your friends, get us out there as much as you can. We really appreciate all of you watching or listening. And until next week, we'll see you guys back here on Twitch Thursday night, 9 p.m. And then also our podcast on all the podcast sites, like your Spotify, your Apple, your Google, whatever site you pretty much are on for podcasts, we're there as well. We also throw this up on the YouTube. So Sass Gaming has a YouTube page. You can go there and watch the video later. We dub the audio that we're recording live, so it sounds a little better than just the stream on Twitch. So you can check that out there. We have a Twitter. All of this stuff is available on our website. So sassgaming.com, sassgaming.com. There's been some sort of issue I've seen lately with like a certification warning, and it's totally fine. You can go through it. There's no hidden agenda. It's just something with our provider we'll have to get with. But you can blow through that. All of our links are listed on the website. It literally has every single link that you can use to follow all of us. So please add us and let us know how you feel. Let us know. Email us. Tweet us. Whatever you want to do. It's great. We appreciate it. We appreciate everything you do. And we'll talk to you next week. Hopefully we'll have some Dragon Con information. So until then, talk to you guys later. Have a good week.
Yep. Love you, fam. See you next week.